Welcome everyone to the Success Elevated podcast. As always, I'm your host Hayden Lee, and I am joined this week by I don't know if I want to call you guys my friends, but I feel like I can.
I hope you would call us your friends.
By two, that was a little bit of a knife. Yeah, sorry. Okay,
here you go.
Two, yeah, appreciate it. Two of my good friends and my bosses also in there as well. Derek Preece, Katie Harris, managing partners of Spot On Solutions. Thanks for coming on the podcast. Returning guests as well. Returning guests to the Success Elevated podcast.
I mean, thank you for fitting us in.
Yes,
podcast.
thank
Hayden,
you.
That was
thank
nice
you for having
of you.
us.
Yeah.
Thank you for twisting our arms.
I know. I really do have to force you
terrible.
both to come on this. You guys don't like talking at all.
Nope.
Very shy.
And
Very
you
shy.
really don't like talking about the story of Spot On Solutions.
I'm super glad you got us on here doing this because I think the truth needs to be told.
The truth needs to come out right now.
Yes.
Every good business, we were just talking before we started recording, every good business has a good story.
I think every business has
has a story.
on how they got started.
100%.
It's one of my favorite things to ask people when I first meet them. Actually, is how'd you get into this?
Yeah.
And
Everybody has a good
some
story.
are better than others. You got to.
That's what I'm saying. I think there's a qualifier there. I think a good business, there's a good story that starts it somehow. And I would consider, because I work there, Spot On Solutions a good business, right?
Yeah.
So
I would agree.
there's, and I've heard the story multiple times, but I don't think I've ever got both of you to sit down and talk about the story at the same time.
We'll see if we have the same version.
Well,
We'll see.
I've heard all the versions.
Okay.
And
And you've told a couple.
You've told several versions.
the version I tell is accurate.
Okay, we'll see if Katie corroborates your story. Katie came on her episode and talked a little bit about the starting of Get Found First, which I think that story leads right in, obviously, to the Spot On Solutions story. You came on, talked a little bit about your side of the Spot On Solutions story, and so I think a combination of the two would be really cool to hear. So let's talk a little bit about that story. Derek, you mentioned one of the coolest stories about your, I guess, involvement in the restoration world was when you flooded your basement. And I think there's a part of that Katie's involved in that I would love to hear Katie talk a little bit about. And I don't know if that's probably not the genesis of the SOS story, but I think there's some good tidbits of information there that I think people would love to hear.
I would say the very first time we did anything marketing-wise together started with your company flooding your basement.
Yes.
So
that was the first time now Katie and I have been acquaintances
for longer than that.
For a long time, friends for a long time, family friends for a long time.
Our oldest sons are the same age.
There you go.
My husband coached baseball with Derek. Like, there's secrets that have happened on the baseball field
Lots
that
of
my son
things.
still won't tell me that involve Derek. So
Jonathan and I have coached together. We see things very similarly, as well as very differently as well too when it comes to coaching.
Good.
We've had a lot of awesome experiences. Nothing like coaching Little League together. It was awesome.
That could be a whole podcast.
It could be, but I think Jonathan would need to be here for that. So.
Both because he's part of the story and also because he's like a lawyer, so he could determine maybe should we talk about this story or not.
Probably so.
And he could totally defend himself.
Yes, he definitely could. But I would tell the truth, the whole truth,
and nothing
but the truth.
Love it. So yeah, speak a little bit about that story. The first time you guys ever did anything marketing wise together, and that's what we do here at Spot On Solutions is some marketing, right? Mm-hmm. So the first thing you ever did marketing-wise was this story of flooding your basement. And for those people that might have missed that story from your podcast, talk a little bit about why you did that. What was the idea behind it? Why did you flood why did your wife let you flood your home?
Why did you flood your basement?
That's probably the best question.
There's a great story. There's a great reason for it.
Okay.
For a long time in our industry and the cleaning and restoration industry, especially when in the flood restoration industry, it's evolved and it continues to evolve. And when we first started our business, when someone would flood their house, you literally would just like tear everything out, and then tear the pad out of the from underneath the carpet, suck it up as best you could with a wand, and then you'd go to dry it out with all kinds of equipment. And then some big shifts started happening in our industry with science and technology,
right.
and where we were able to extract water out of building materials. Specifically, we're able to extract all the water out of carpet padding when it got wet, and then we were able to dry it from the top down, which was really like unheard of before. So all this new technology was coming out, all the science was behind it, and our company always wanted to be on the forefront of being at top, and being associated with that, doing things the right way. So we had invested a lot of money and a lot of time in just state-of-the-art, awesome technology so that we could provide great service to our customers. And so we had invested a lot of money in training in this whole concept of top-down drying. But the problem is we were bringing this new technology to an audience that it was so unheard of.
Right.
That you could dry carpet pad? No way.
Yeah.
And to do it efficiently and inexpensively. Just didn't make sense to insurance agents, adjusters, and homeowners. It just made no sense.
I think it's interesting because this is funny because I've heard this story a million times, right? But also, not only was it the technology was changing in their industry, right? The way media and marketing was changing at this time too.
Yeah.
Because Yellow Pages is going away, right? A lot of traditional advertising is different. And guess what's new is Facebook.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, so I got this idea from, some peer groups that I was a part of. I had this idea of, we live in Idaho. It's winter.
Yep.
It's January. You don't have swimming pools in Idaho, and let alone if you do have a swimming pool, it's indoors. Yeah. So I had this brilliant idea. At least I thought it was a good idea, that in order to bring this whole concept to our market and prove to them what this whole top-down dry in place stuff was, that I would put a swimming pool in my basement.
This is not a kiddie pool, right? This is a big swimming pool.
1,200 gallons, right? Now, granted, my wife's house was brand new. We had just finished the basement. Like everything in the base, brand new paint, baseboard, doors, carpet, everything was brand new. The only thing that was a benefit is we hadn't started moving that much furniture in. So I had this idea. We were drying carpet and drying houses out fast. I convinced my wife to let us flood this basement. Now, then after I convinced her, we have to publicize this somehow, right? I had a plan. Facebook was on the rise. It just kind of come out. We didn't have any of all the. Facebook was nothing then like it is today.
Don't you so much wish we could go do Facebook Live and repeat this?
So different today.
So fun.
But Katie was working at the newspaper, and I knew that, and she was the editor, and I'd bounced ideas off of her before, but this one was different than we'd ever done, and it wasn't a baseball game because again it was winter, but I saw her at some kind of an event, and I was like, Katie, I've got this idea. Want to know what you think about it and whether you think it's newsworthy. Mm-hmm. And so I bounced this off her head, and she got her eyes just like
so many ideas,
out of her head.
Many ideas.
I had a good buddy that worked for Channel 6 News, and he did, on-site reporting. And I told him about it. He's like, Derek, you do this, and I'll be there to cover it.
That's awesome.
And she's going to be there anyway. So convinced my wife, and this was probably the hardest part, was convincing her, because we had just done all of this, and she told me, she said, the only way you do this is if you can guarantee me that there'll be no damage.
Don't you love it when customers say guarantee me? Like she's the ultimate customer right now, right?
I don't necessarily make that guarantee to everybody, but this was important to me, and I knew if we didn't quite come out the way we'd planned, she'd probably forgive me.
Yeah.
She'd hold it over my head for a long time, but she'd probably forgive me, and at least I probably wouldn't. She'd probably still be married to me. So we did it, and it was awesome. It was so fun.
Awesome.
Like we recorded it. The news was there. Katie was there with the newspaper. We were FaceTiming. It was. I remember the very first phone call I got. The very first one after we'd done it.
Hold on. You got to understand this, right? Like this big swimming pool is on the floor, and it's like a countdown, right? It's like 3, 2, 1. They step on the sides, and water is just everywhere. And
then I remember there was no Facebook Live, so I had to take the video, I had to publish it and upload it to Facebook. So I did that. Literally that evening, I got a phone call from my insurance agent. And he's like, Derek, see you flooded your basement.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I did. Isn't that awesome? And he said, you know that intentional acts of is not covered by your insurance policy, right? Like when you do things on purpose, we're not going to cover it. I'm like, yeah, I know that. I never called you.
I was not going to.
I don't intend to call you. I'm not going to turn
a
claim. We're going to, and it's going to be dry. And I was like, it's going to be dry in 24 hours. And that's what we did.
And it was powerful to that insurance agent, right?
Yeah.
Like you said, we're trying to show this new technology.
Tell you what, he sent me a lot of business after that.
It's really cool.
Anyway, we use that a lot. So that's like the first time that Katie and I really had done anything, and it was a lot of fun. Mm-hmm. But that is not how Spot On Solutions.
That is not our story.
No, because it was much later. But give me your perspective, little Katie, from your side. Like he approaches you with this idea, and I guess what were your thoughts? What was going through? Was marketing even going through your head at the time?
Oh yeah, like I think marketing's always been going through my head, and I was in a place right then where I had always loved traditional, but I saw it. I didn't like some of the directions it was going, right? And I was really intrigued by digital, and I'd been learning a lot about it, and I was always looking at ways that companies could brand themselves better or promote themselves better or just make a difference, right, at their marketing. And so if you fast forward a few years from here, I was actually on my way out of traditional, and that's when I met Michael Johnson, our other business partner, and I literally had followed him out of a meeting one day that we were working on together, and I told him, you should hire me. Like, you should hire me.
Right.
And he's like, yeah, you're right. And he did. And that was the start of me leaving traditional media and really getting into digital. And so we started our company, it's Get Found First now, and we were doing digital marketing and strategies. Derek was a client.
But let me tell you how this all happened.
Okay,
that is true.
It's all true. She hasn't told any non-truths yet.
Up to this point, Katie has told the truth. Actually, Katie will never tell.
Like you would lie.
Katie will never not tell the truth. But let me tell you about my experience. So, and I can tell you, like, really, Spot On Solutions, the reason we're doing this today, it all did start with a snot-nosed kid. A 21, 22-year-old kid, baby.
He's not even here to defend
himself. He's not. But if he was,
but
if he was, he'd be sitting there with a big smile. Matter of fact, laughing and joking with us. But seriously, Michael Johnson, I've known him since he was this tall. We went to church together. I'm good friends with his mom and dad. I mean, I literally watched him grow up. I saw him in, he's been in, his life has been almost taken from him in accidents. Many times. The guy's like a cat with 9 lives. But he had just gotten home from a mission for our church. And I was, we're running our restoration company, had been doing it for, 18 years at the time or more. It had been a long time. And he had just got home and had done some amazing things for our church in the mission field, in the realm of digital and digital marketing and reach, and had come home and started this whole digital marketing thing. And that's what I looked at. That's what it was to me, was a thing.
Yeah, it's like a fad.
Because to me,
Yeah.
I had been burned by a number of digital marketing.
And this is where your story
People.
sounds like everybody's story.
And I know, because everybody has.
I know.
Yeah.
But I had funneled thousands of dollars into websites, SEO, pay-per-click
You'd heard
marketing.
every promise.
I'd done everything. Yeah, and I'd heard it all, and everything was just bull crap to me. And so Michael comes home and he uses his, friendship, parents' influence, church influence on me. Say, hey, Derek, I got to come talk to you about your website and about digital marketing. I started this company, blah, 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 blah. And I literally, number one, I'm a sales guy, but I hate salespeople. I hate to be sold. If I don't, I want to be sold on something I want to be sold on, and digital was not one of them.
That was not the thing.
I literally put him off, probably 4 months. The guy he'd call me all the time. So in that meantime, in that time of me putting him off, is when him and Katie got together and started really doing some cool things. So then you
were getting attacked by two people.
No. I didn't know that Katie and he had started.
Oh, okay.
But
he had a plan and he was working it.
Finally, he was so persistent on me, and I knew at some point, if I kept putting him off, that I was going to get a call from his dad. That's what I was afraid of. Eventually, I'm going to get a call from Robert saying, hey, when are you going to talk to Michael? And pull the whole friendship card on me. So in order to avoid that, decided, okay, come in, I'll listen to your spiel.
Persistence will win the day every single
And
time.
Persistence. So seriously, he came in and had prepared this, something I had never seen before. I was super impressed with him, and I was super impressed with not just what he would, said, this is what we're going to do, this is what we're going to do. He actually had done some research on me. He knew what strategy he was going to implement and what it was going to cost. And I was finally, I'm all right.
Let's try.
It's he answered all my questions and put all my fears aside, even though I had spent thousands of dollars. I was hey, you know what? Fine. Your family or your friends like family. So I decided, I was still a little skeptical, but we decided to pull the trigger on some things and let Michael try. So that's the start of Spot On Solutions. Then then he and Katie got to work.
Then it was just hustle time.
Then I'm you're working with Katie too? Okay, cool. But then they got started to work. They started seeing results. Started seeing them fairly quickly. And I was just finally starting to believe in digital, right? I'm oh, so this does work. And then, in the meantime, I had, I've been in business for 16, 17 years at the time. I had contacts in the industry, I had peers, friends, all had restoration companies.
And you're just referring people to us like crazy.
You guys got to talk to Katie and Michael. You got to. They're great. Digital marketing sucks, but these guys are awesome. They'll finally start doing stuff for you. So, they started
We'd come
working
back and
with.
be like, hey, guess who what? We signed up these guys. Hey, we signed up these guys. And it didn't take you very long.
No.
When you were wait a minute.
Wait a minute.
I'm just giving you referrals when we could.
The entrepreneur in him went into overdrive.
Oh,
The reason is because there was nobody in our industry that knew what they were doing.
Yeah.
There's nobody, and I was we need to take this to our industry, to work with service-based companies that don't have a traditional brick and mortar. You come to my building and I sell you something.
Thousands and thousands and thousands of dollars in budget.
Don't have, they're local businesses. And so we started talking, and I was listen, I'm not referring anybody else to you. Like, we're going to continue this relationship. We're going to build a business out of it, and we're going to go get clients who need our help. And so that's literally like, that's 100% how Spot On Solutions started. And it's been, now we're in our 11th year.
Yeah.
It's been awesome.
It's like everybody came to it from our own directions, right?
Oh, yeah.
But we've never, I think any of us, lost sight of who we are that we bring to the table,
Yeah.
right? And I think we have really complementary personalities and talents and skill sets. And we came in, and Derek brought his industry expertise, and Michael brought his skills, and I brought my skills, and then we just combined that with this hustle and this passion and this drive to elevate people in businesses, and it just took off.
So cool. And I think the story, I mean, to give it a little extra context, and Katie, you can speak a little bit more to this, like, you had just started a business. You just started this venture with...
And keep in mind, like, I have no business knowledge, right? I never expected to own a business.
Right.
And now in a blink of an eye, I own two.
Yeah. like seemingly overnight.
Within a few months of each other.
Yeah.
I had left a job in traditional media. It was a good job.
Yep.
Had a kid in elementary school, daughter in junior high, and a son in high school, right?
Yeah.
And two businesses, and they both just took off together. They both just started growing, and that's what we did.
It's fascinating for me, again, outside looking in. You know, I don't own a business, but yeah, like, just how quick it started. Like, and that both of you kind of had this similar idea. Was there any, I guess, when Derek approached you, he was like, I'm going to stop giving you guys referrals.
Oh, he didn't say it that
I
much.
know he didn't say it that way.
It was more like, listen, let's do this.
Yeah.
And
was there some, I don't want to say hesitation, because I don't know if hesitation's in your personality at all, Katie, all that much, but like, was there any like back
and
of the
I
mind,
think you
like,
mean that in a nice
in
way.
a very nice way, in a very, very nice way. But like, there wasn't any part of you that was like, I don't know, really, just for restoration
You know
companies?
what? Like,
was there anything that was...
I maybe should sometimes stop and think things through just a little bit more. But show me a really successful entrepreneur that has to stop and really think about it, right? Like, it's just, like, we just knew. Number one, we knew it would work. We knew there was a need because we'd already tested it and found that.
I guess you kind of almost had like a beta testing where he was giving you companies and it was working for him.
I think we were just so, like, full of passion and determination. Like, we knew we could do it.
Yeah.
And we had a
knew we
niche.
could do it.
Yeah.
We had a niche that needed our services.
They were so hungry for it. And so
They
when we
still
got
are.
started, they still are. You're right. But
I mean,
when we got started, that's what we brought to the table. Is just this, there was never a time when we were like, should we do this? Can this work? It was like, okay, let's go. What
That's
are we
cool.
going to do?
What are we gonna do?
How fast can we run is essentially what it became. And
now, that being said, we have been super strategic
Yes.
on how we've built this company.
Right.
And I think what has set us apart from just about every other agency in the world is that we, number one, we understood our niche. We understood what we wanted to accomplish, and that was to elevate people and businesses. And we knew we didn't want to grow faster than we could deliver our brand promises.
Right.
So we have been super strategic in bringing on the right clients at the right time, at the right level, so that our team and we've grown our team so that we can deliver an amazing experience and amazing results, so that we're not burning bridges,
Yeah.
and B, getting clients who get results, who are happy to continue a relationship with us, so that we're not continually churning and burning.
so a couple of things Derek
and that's
did.
what we've been trying to do.
A couple of things you did right off the bat right, is he looked at us and he said, hey, listen, if we're going to do this, like, we're going to take really good care of people.
Yeah.
Because I'd been burned 17,000 times.
And you love
Yeah.
this industry. You had great friends in this industry. It's like, we're going to take really good care of them. And we're like, you got it, right? So being true, being genuine, being transparent was important from the very beginning. And then he was like, and there are people in this industry that we need.
Yeah.
And so one of the very first things we did, and it's like so cemented in my brain, is like we scraped together the money we had and we got on an airplane and we flew to Canton, Ohio. And Derek had said, one of the people that I trust the very most, that I respect the very most, is Chuck Violand. And if we're going to do this, I want to go talk to him. And so we did. We flew out to Canton. We sat down with Chuck. So this is what we're doing. And he gave us, I thought, some really great advice. And basically it's like, prove it, right?
Yeah.
Prove it. You take good care of people. You help them grow their businesses. And I'll open doors. And he's been an amazing person to work with ever since. And then you said, and you're going to know this industry, because we're not going to be an agency that doesn't know what we're talking about.
Right.
So the next thing we did is we all piled in a car and we drove to Las Vegas. We drove from Idaho to Las Vegas. We were making a business plan along the way, and we went and we walked the floor of the experience.
That's cool.
A trade show we've gone to.
And you're still going to. You guys just got back from.
Twice a year for the last 10 years. And he was like, this is the industry. And we walked in there and we met Meredith Truitt with Reach Drying Academy, who's been a great partner. Reach has been a great partner all along the way too. And so relationships that were made like in the very first days are relationships that have helped us grow and that we just really value still today.
It's like, this is how important it was. Like,
Okay.
we've been in business like 10 years. We're in our 11th year. And I was just looking at things the other day. Like, other than my restoration company, our very first customer is still with us today.
That's really cool.
Two things. Our very first customer is still with us, and our very first person that we ever hired
He's still with us.
is still with us today. And, you know, and I mean, that's awesome. I love that. I mean, at the end of the day, we've been true to our desire, our vision, our mission of elevating people and businesses, and that's what we try hard to do every single day.
I think I want you both to correct me if I misspeak here.
Oh, I will.
I know you will. For me, it seems like, especially in the service industry, companies that are the most successful find a way to kind of live in this middle space where they're large enough that they provide a really, really good, like, technically sound product or service, right? So they've got the technology, they're on the cutting edge, right? Like you talked about top-down dry, like you're on the cutting edge, but small enough is it's not a good way to phrase it, but you're small enough that you still provide quality customer service, right? Like our clients, if need be, could call and speak to the CEOs, you know, the owners of the company if they really needed to,
Sure.
right? And I feel like it comes down to two things. The reason you've been able to keep clients as long as you have, and that you've had employees as long as you've had them, comes down to you've every step along the way you've had your vision in mind, right? You've been driven to elevate people and businesses. And then I think the second thing, again, outside looking in, you can correct me, has been your focus on relationships with people. For me, that seems like the recipe for success, right? If you want to live, if you want to be and build a really successful service-based company, which, I mean, digital marketing is service-based, right?
Yep.
Customer service-based. You've got to provide a technically sound product, but at the same time, like it's built around people, and you've got to build like really, really good relationships. And it seems like you guys have done a really good job of walking that line, right? Like not getting too big for who you are. Again, if a client called in and wanted to speak to Derek or Katie, we could get them Derek or Katie, right? Mm-hmm. But also at the same time, like we're going to provide a quality service that is going to help them grow their business. I guess if that makes sense, I feel like that's from the outside looking in has been the recipe for you guys.
I think it's just the recipe.
Yeah.
I don't care what type of service you provide. Like, you've got to be able to perform, do what you say you're going to do.
Right.
With a vision that is true, right?
Right.
And then you've got to have a relationship of trust.
Yeah.
The relationship building, that to me is the number one thing. If somebody's starting a business or trying to grow a business or trying to figure out what's wrong in their business, man, check out the relationships you have.
Yeah.
And really put eyes on yourself and see what you're doing to add value to other people.
Well, and as an employee, I've worked for both extremes. So I've worked for really small situations where, you know, the culture is great and the people there are awesome, but the product, because they're so small, hasn't been as good. And then I've worked for the opposite. I've worked for a company that, hey, they're on the cutting edge of technology. They've got 1,000 employees. They're awesome, but they don't care about their clients, right? All they care about is being on the cutting edge and technologically sound and all this. So I've worked for both extremes, and I think the recipe for success, like you said, maybe not just for you guys, but for any service-based company, is walking that line. We're not going to get too big so that we don't have a relationship with our clients, but we're also going to be on the cutting edge enough that we provide a good product,
right?
That we provide a service that people like and want. And I think finding the way to kind of balance the two equals a successful company. That's what I'm saying.
We don't even need to correct you on that.
He's so smart.
He did say correct me if I'm wrong, but he's okay.
Okay,
So
I was
smart.
good there. Okay, I wanted to make sure.
I mean, it just all boils down to relationships.
Yep. Yeah.
What are you
Big time.
doing to add value to the people you come in contact with, and do you do what you say you're going to do? Can they count on you?
It was fun for me. You know, me and you got to go to the Next Level event a few weeks ago
in
Atlanta, which
Yeah.
was so cool to. And
that was your first industry event.
The first
right?
time ever going to an industry specific event, and it was so cool to be there and to meet. And I had met people virtually, but to actually go and spend time with Jeremy and Meredith, with Reed's Drying Academy and Nick and everybody. It was just really, really cool. And it was cool for me to be a fly on the wall a little bit, to see you interact with people that you've had relationships with for a decade.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just, it really is true. Like, you talk about relationships, you guys talk about it all the time, you beat it into our heads, we've got to have relationships with our clients. But it was fun for me to actually see you walking the walk.
Yeah.
And actually you don't just tell us to go build relationships and then, sit on your phone the whole time and scroll while people are walking. You went and talked and sat down and had lunch with people. And it was really cool for me to be like, oh, Katie's about this stuff. She doesn't just talk about it.
I love it, right? And so when you're like, did you stop and think about it? I didn't. I jumped in because
that's how
I
we
knew
do it.
Yeah.
I knew I would love it. And those relationships are true, right?
Yeah.
It's not, hey, what's in it for me? Or it's not I'm just trying to make a sell. That's not it. Businesses that do that will always struggle. It's genuinely caring. It's truly being invested in somebody else's success. It's seeing where you add value. And sometimes it's not big things. It's little things that you can do that just create friendships.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's awesome. I've quoted, who's now a part of the Spot. He's been a part of the Spot on Solutions family for a long time, but Len Hume, Len and Annette's podcast, Len came on and said it, and I've repeated it multiple times. If you want to build a good relationship with somebody, you go into that not asking, okay, what's Derek going to do for me? I go into it saying, what can I do for Derek?
Yep.
That's how I build a long-lasting relationship.
And Derek and Len and Annette have been friends forever. They built their businesses together.
Well,
in Corona.
and they were a client of Spot on Solutions forever, and now they've since sold their business, and now they work with us. It's just really, really cool that. Yeah. Again, I've quoted a bunch of people, but Len, just that thought that, hey, go into a relationship. How can I help this person? Not, hey, what's this person going to do to make me money? That's not how you build a long-lasting relationship.
So really, honestly, no matter how your business got started, no matter what that story looked like, look at it right now. What are the relationships that you're making? Where are those contacts at? And you can almost predict what the success will look like of it.
Yeah.
Yep.
So cool. Well, thank you both for coming on and talking a little bit about. We've talked about the story of Spot on Solutions. We've touched on it multiple times in several different episodes, but it was cool to have you both on to get both sides, both perspectives of this, and
it's a part of who we
was
are.
fun.
it really is. It really is. I
Really.
mean, for the last decade, going into the 11th year, right? It's been a part of who you guys are. And, you know, I had a football coach in high school that said, don't talk about it, be about it. And I think you both live that to a T, right? Like you don't talk about helping people and elevating them in their businesses. You actually try and go out and do it. And I think that's what makes both of you so cool. So
Awesome.
anyways,
Thank you.
yeah, thank
Thanks.
you both for coming on the podcast, and I'm sure we'll have you on again sometime soon. So
Appreciate
Awesome.
it,
Look
Hayden.
forward to it. Thanks, Hayden.
This has been Success Elevated, making you a little bit better one show at a time. Thanks for joining us. Subscribe on any major podcast platform or check out our website at successonpoint.com.